Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have back with us today David Curry. He's the president of Open Doors, one of the most impacting ministries that I know that's out there, watching the persecuted church and doing a lot about it around the world. Let me early on give you their website, because I want to encourage you to go to their website, check out what they do. It's a great resource. Support what they do. OpenDoorsUSA.com. That's the website, OpenDoorsUSA.com. And it's just an amazing organization. David, good to see you, my friend. Happy New Year.
To be back with you, Barry. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, listen, you announced this past week the 2015 World Watch List. Tell us about what you're publishing there.
Well, for the last 24 years, Open Doors has been researching the engines of persecution against Christians around the world. And what we discovered this year with the 2015 World Watch List is the greatest rise in violence against Christians in the modern era. That's how significant this is. Whoa. We've seen the number of Christians executed for their faith. These aren't Christians who are killed as collateral damage in a war, but Christians who were murdered for their faith has doubled in the last 12 months.
That is unbelievable. Why? What do you think it is?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons. If you start looking at the list, as you said, it's at opendoorsusa.org. If you go to there, and you'll see these countries, a lot of them, 40 of the top 50 on the list, have elements of Islamic extremists who are organizing and making efforts to eliminate Christianity. They're trying to set up Sharia law and caliphates within their regions. You're talking about people like at number 3 on the list in Iraq, you have the Islamic State. Number 4, Syria, also affected by the Islamic State. But you also have countries in Africa like Nigeria, which is number 10 on the World Watch List. And that's a particularly interesting case because you have an Islamic group. It's a majority Christian country, but you have Boko Haram, which is very similar to Al-Qaeda and a spin-off of Al-Qaeda, but is learning the lessons of the Islamic State in their tactics, in their strategies, and they have killed over 2,100 Christians. If you want to average that out, that means 10 Christians a day on average were killed in the last 12 months. Now think of what has happened in the last few days in France. We lost, tragically, 12 cartoonists, 12 satirists in France, and the world is taking notice. Friends, 10 Christians on average were killed every day last year in Nigeria, and you hardly hear a peep about it. That's what we want to change with the World Watch List.
Wow. Where is North Korea? Because in the past, it's been right at the top.
North Korea is still at the top. It's really an anomaly. If you look at the different persecution drivers, it's really unusual, but it remains for the 13th year in a row at the top of the list. You have a paranoid dictatorship, is what I would call it. There's communistic overtones, of course, but really it's all about trying to stay in power and creating a philosophy which worships the leader, not just Kim Jong-un, the current leader, but previous generations as well. So that whole family has set up a dictatorship that is dependent upon the people believing that they're God. And so therefore any ideology which challenges that, and of course Christianity does, becomes an enemy of the state. And when they rank enemies of the state in North Korea, Christians are number 1. That means that almost 70,000 Christians are in labor camps today. That's what makes it number 1. But here's the interesting part of it, Perry. We don't even know. We can't document how many people were executed, murdered for their faith last year. We know some numbers, right, and we don't report the number. We can't absolutely verify. Yet it still remains number 1 on the World Watch List.
Any other surprises, David? Obviously, the amount of Christians being killed has doubled, but any other surprises or any other countries that have become more active? Okay, sorry about that. I think we had a little bit of a Skype problem. They're going to try to get him back here. Let me encourage you. This is unbelievable. And the fact that we'd have a little technical Skype problem with it just kind of underscores. OpenDoorUSA.com, and you can track the countries and the persecutions around the world. This is something that I think we need to get the word out. We certainly need to be praying about this. This just isn't happening somewhere else, and it doesn't bother us. Look, we should be tremendously moved by this, and yet even some of the things that are happening in the United States indicates that the heat is being turned up even in our own backyard. David, I think we got you back. I'm sorry about that. Were there any other surprises in addition to the amount of Christians dying for their faith doubling last year? Did you see any countries that maybe moved up a notch that were a surprise to you?
Well, a couple of surprises, Perry. First of all, what's happening in Africa. Last year, we only saw one nation in Africa in the top 10. Now we have 4, and you see it represented: Somalia, Kenya, you've got Nigeria, you've got Eritrea. So you've got a bunch of countries there that are sort of unusual in that Africa is coming into the picture. And I think that tells you these ideologies are spreading. Here's another interesting thing on the World Watch list. Mexico is on there. It's not high up on the list, but what is happening in Mexico is you have cartels, you have organized crime, which are attacking priests, which are attacking churches, that are strongholds in the community for morality. And so that's why we have in our own hemisphere, in our own area here, a country that's ranking, in the 30s in the World Watch list.
So overall, David, it's on a rise. And what do we do here in America? What do you want through Open Doors for us to get as citizens in America? What do you want us to do, and how can we partner with you?
Well, I want us to let our voice be heard. I would love to see Christians and churches in Oregon, all within your listening audience, take the World Watch list at opendoorsusa.org, download it, and pray through it. It's so easy to pray for one country a day. It just take you a moment. And then tell your friends, share it on social media, because we need people to care. Now, tragically, 12 folks were killed in France, and look at the outpouring of warmth and love for them. But 2,100 believers were killed in Nigeria last year. Nobody says a word about it. Not even the church. And unless the church cares, the other population certainly won't care. So we need people to pray, to care. And of course, there are projects within these countries where you can make a difference for the persecuted church.
David, this certainly suggests that we're leading to some kind of a major clash worldwide over religions. And I guess we have to say that because that seems to be what's on the table.
That's right. I mean, there are a billion. There's a billion or something like that. Muslims around the world, most of them peaceful. We do have ideological differences. Within that is a small group of people, which I term as Islamic extremists, who are using violence to try to push out Christianity within regions where Christianity has been since the very beginning. In Iraq is Nineveh, Mosul. These places that Christianity has been there since the time of Christ. Mm-hmm. So yes, we are going to see issues of Islamic extremism still for the coming months and years. I think all the factors that made this the most violent year in the modern era for Christians are still in place, and they're spreading. So I'm not predicting it's going to get better, but here's the thing. People need to be of hope. We need not live in fear, but we have to be knowledgeable.
How can we partner with you? What are your greatest needs at Open Door?
We need people to pray. That prayer changes everything. We need people to adopt projects, adopt countries, say, I want to make a difference for the widows in Nigeria. There's so many widows of pastors and Christians. We're counseling them. We're counseling the parents of those girls who were kidnapped in Nigeria. You can support these kind of projects. It could be real simple, writing letters of love and support, telling them we're praying for them, taking on a project to help feed Christians who are refugees from their country now that they've been pushed out of Iraq. Anything you could do would be helpful. opendoorsusa.org.
All right. Thanks, my friend. Our prayers are with you. Look forward to staying in touch throughout the year. And if anything happens, you need to get the word out in Oregon, let us know, okay?
I'll do it, Perry. Thank you.
All right. Blessings on you. All right. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
right, welcome back, and delighted to have in the studio with us today Caleb LaPlante and Steve Raycraft. Both these gentlemen want to deal with the problem and have been quite effectively the problem of sex trafficking in Southern Oregon and the prevention project we want to talk to them about. Gentlemen, thanks for coming in. Good to see you guys.
Thanks, Barry.
Give us an update, Steve. What's going on?
I wish we had more than 12 minutes because we have so many things going on now. We've been at this for 3+ years, and we've taken our baby steps. We've gotten now to a point where we are making connections across the board with law enforcement locally, with our representatives, both our U.S. and our local state legislators, and in the schools. Now we've started to make connections in the schools, so things are happening with ACT Southern Oregon, and we've got a brand new chapter in Jackson County, Medford as well. So lots of good things happening.
That's wonderful. All right. And Caleb, the Prevention Project, tell us about it a little bit.
Prevention Project is a program that was designed by International Justice Mission, and it's run by a group out of Virginia. So it's more predominant on the East Coast, but we've been working for about a year to bring it here to our communities. And Grants Pass High School will be the first high school on the West Coast to bring this program. It's a 6-part curriculum, and it covers trafficking from the big picture internationally all the way down to what is a pimp, and redefining some of these cultural norms that have been spun on us and getting us back to really not only with pimp, the word pimp and what that role is, but in terms of just the general over-sexualization of our media and our culture in general. And it finishes with a student empowerment lesson. What can you do to make a better world, and how, as even a teenager, can you start getting involved in social justice issues?
So the goal here is to even get the students aware of what's going on, right? I mean, get them tuned in that this is happening, look for these people.
That's a big piece of what we're doing, and we're so blessed that Linda Smith with Shared Hope International was on Focus on the Family both yesterday and today. She's addressing that same question. She's got a survivor of trafficking that's on, and the whole message that they're promoting with their chosen video into the schools right now is to protect kids by giving them the awareness, the information, and the red flag warning signs on what this looks like, how it works. The children that get caught up into trafficking are not stupid kids. You know, they're intelligent, but they are unaware of how the process works, and they're caught off guard, and they're trapped into a lie that looks like something wonderful that entices them into that situation. And that's what happens with the girl Lacey that's on the program with Linda Smith today. And that's the case, the story in a lot of cases. And if we can get that awareness and that information into kids' hands, and into our educators and into our parents' hands as well, so that they can be on the lookout. But the kids need to know and need to be informed, and that's what we're working on in a big part right now.
All right, again, let me just highlight this because I don't want to lose it. You got the 6-part series coming up here, Caleb, so it's going to be at Grants Pass. Give us a date and time.
The students will actually have a sort of a month-long awareness effort during January, led by their student leadership. We did this in partnership with their student leadership last year, and it was just a January event last year. But this year, that full month will then lead into, on February 4th, the first day of class for the Prevention Project. And within the month of February, they will run through all 6 classes. And then, before the year's out, they'll run through that whole series again. So there'll be twice this semester.
Are students getting it, Steve?
Oh, well, when they're giving the information, yes, they get it. It's a surprise to them because they're unaware of it themselves, but they don't have any problem understanding.
Okay.
It's pretty simple.
What about parents?
And parents do too. It's the idea that they have no idea, no concept that this is actually happening in our world and in our local communities. They think it's a problem that's happening somewhere else in the world, somewhere else in the United States, in the big cities maybe, but not down here in Southern Oregon. And that's where we are blind. And parents and kids are blind to those facts. And we are bringing that awareness. That's our goal. But if I can just segue too, that's not the only thing we're doing here. We're doing a lot of other things as well. And I think Caleb mentioned that we're working with the Three Rivers School District now to bring awareness into that school district in Grants Pass But we are doing proclamations with various city and county governments here in Southern Oregon this month, because this is Child Trafficking Awareness Month in Southern Oregon. So we've been to the city of Grants Pass and Josephine County already, and yesterday to the city of Medford.
Good.
We have Jackson County coming up.
Wow.
We have Central Point and Ashland.
Great.
All issuing proclamations, so the government, city governments and the county governments are recognizing this issue.
All right. How big of a problem is it in Southern Oregon? And the reason I ask that, because we've been talking about it, and I think you make a good point on that. Everybody thinks it's at the other town, but here we are on the I-5 corridor. We're an area, aren't we? Mm-hmm. How big is it?
I like to say that there's 3 ways that we see this in Southern Oregon, and for any parents or even young people listening. The first is that we have our own kids being sold here. When I got involved in 2011, there was a 14-year-old out of Grants Pass who had been sold within the Rogue Valley for several months before law enforcement were able to apprehend these 3 individuals, I think, that were responsible for selling her. Wow. That got my attention, but as we've become more engaged with this over the last 3.5 years, we've learned that the other 2 ways, of course, are the I-5 corridor that you mentioned. Shared Hope International, which sponsors our group, figures that on any given week you can find 35 victims of child or adult trafficking for sale on websites in our Rogue Valley area. And that's due entirely to, almost entirely to the I-5 corridor being right on what law enforcement, federal FBI level law enforcement calls the kiddie track. Mm-hmm. The third way is we are not educating our youth, and when they become adults at 18, they leave our area and they go to a city. There's at least one very well-respected survivor from our area who went to U of O and met her trafficker on the U of O campus, and was trafficked for 6 years as a result. So we have 3 distinct ways that this can affect youth from our area.
And we actually were talking with Detective Jim Williams with the Medford Police Department yesterday, and he was informing us that he's been following the activity, online activity, which is where you find quite a bit of it these days, is through Backpage.com, and that's how they market and traffic and sell these children.
Well, I had a gentleman come in my office a couple of weeks ago. He brought his laptop in, and he showed me. He said, "Look at this. This is an innocent guy going around, but all of a sudden they'll show up on these flash ads on these various sites. You have no idea where they're coming from, but then you'll see the word where it'll actually say, if I remember right, available in Medford or something like that. Call this number." I mean, I'm going.
It's marketing in the 21st century. I mean, that's how it's done. And Detective Williams can track these ads on Backpage as they move these girls through up the I-5 corridor from California into Oregon, up through to Seattle, swing on over to Idaho, down into Wyoming and Utah, and then back down into Las Vegas, and they start to circle again. And they move these victims, these children and young adults through on that track. And Jim Williams, Detective Williams, has said that the activity is twice now this year what it was last year. So it's not getting better, it is getting worse at this point.
Despite efforts to raise awareness in our community, we only have to keep being persistent.
The awareness is up, the trafficking is up, and I know an effort to rescue is up. But
and the laws are up too. And we're working with our legislators right now. We're very tied into, our group is, with what the legislation is that's on the horizon, what happened the last legislative session and what's coming up. And our local legislators are very much tuned into this. Senator Bates, Dwayne Stark, newly elected, Carl Wilson, newly elected, just to name a few, are very aware of what's happening and what the legislation is that's coming up. They'll be plugged into that. So we're working with that aspect as well.
You know, it's been said, maybe we ought to just change the law pretty simple, make it a crime to buy sex instead of selling it.
That's one of the things that's on the horizon. It's a tough sell because we've always let the buyers off the hook. We've slapped them on the hand, and we've turned the victims into criminals and charged them with prostitution. Right. And that's one big part of the problem. We need to really focus on the demand side and the buyers.
The police, where are they in this process? What's happening with them?
Baby steps. It's working. You want to mention the sheriff's campaign?
Yeah, and what Steve's alluding to is Jackson County Sheriff. We can't as a group speak firsthand to what they're doing, but we're in partnership with a representative of A21 campaign, an internationally recognized trafficking group. And she's from our area, she lives here, and so we're working together with her on some projects, and she has shared with us that she's made headway with the Jackson County Sheriff to actually line item budget money to develop a task force and dedicated training program for the Sheriff's Department. That's the county sheriff level.
Right.
Steve mentioned Detective Williams at the Medford PD level. He is their point man for all of this kind of activity. So, I mean, on both city and county level, we're making progress and we're getting our law enforcement trained.
All right, back to the students just for a moment. How do you describe the word pimp to them?
Well, it starts with just bringing up the word and finding out, what their concept of it is, and then circling back to the reality of what's going on, and that when the opportunity is there, it's part of that education process. Is let's really look at what's going on here. Mm-hmm. There's a concept, there's a preconception of what's really going on. Let's really dig deeper and see what's going on, and let's look at these people that we've labeled as pimps and glamorized, and let's look at the sexualization of our culture. Let's look at how pornography is affecting this issue, and address all those things.
Okay, so I guess what I'm also looking at is that you're saying to the student, if an outsider comes into your life and starts promising everything, isn't that the first indicator something's going wrong here? Mm-hmm. I mean, but yet that's not to take away from, I realize that some of these pimps are actually insiders too, but for the most part it's an outsider, isn't it?
It can be either one. I mean, there's a thousand different ways, a million different ways that this works, but typically, again, they're not presenting themselves as pimps. They're coming in as just that good-looking older boy that cares about me all of a sudden and is talking to me, and then I bump into him again, or he calls me up or whatever, and it's a relationship, a grooming process that happens, and that's how these victims often get caught up, is because they are lured in slowly, and they develop a relationship first, and before they know it, they're into something totally unexpected, out of their control.
I'd like to add that the word pimp is really put at the center of this issue, and that certainly is more times than not there is a pimp involved, and that's synonymous with the word trafficker. Trafficking is force, fraud, and coercion. However, traffickers are not just pimps. If you listen to Linda Smith's second part interview that's coming up on your program at 9.
At 9 this morning, right?
Yeah, she has talked in part 1 about how Lacey was spotted. There were boys that were paid by a trafficker to help get information about her hopes and dreams so the trafficker could exploit those when he went after her. There are trafficking charges federally that are brought against hotel operators and taxi cab drivers. Anyone that's complicit, that knows that they're participating and is receiving money for participating, can be prosecuted as a trafficker. So we're not just talking about pimps. Even gangs are getting out of the drug business and getting into the trafficking business, because you can sell a person over and over again, and they're traffickers. They're not a pimp by definition, but they're a gang operation that can all be prosecuted as a trafficking crime organization as well.
Unbelievable. All right, so how can people help you guys? What do you need?
We would love to be in more schools locally. So whatever anybody would like to do to contact us and help facilitate that. We need more members in our groups, both in Medford and Grants Pass. The more people we have, the more we'll be able to do.
Okay.
Those two things always are really on the top of the list.
Our website is www.act Southern Oregon, and you can find out about our meetings and you can find out about our awareness events. There are several going on this month.
ActSouthernOregon.com. ACT, SouthernOregon.com. Get a hold of them, be a part of this. And guys, thanks. I just, every time I take this topic on, my brain goes on tilt. But thanks for what you're doing. Keep us informed, and best to you on this project coming up. And then if you need help down the road, let us know, okay?
Yeah, we'll do.
Perry.
Thanks, Perry.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Hey, we're back, and we're talking already. I have Bryan Platt with us in the studio, and Bryan heads up Jackson County Right to Life. And I tell you what, coming up, January 22nd, a new venue, a new time, new location, new everything of the commemoration event for Roe versus Wade. Bryan, this is pretty exciting.
It is, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, Perry, but it is new. It's something that was kind of the Lord laid on the heart of our chapter, and so we're going to follow the Spirit's leading in this, and we'll see where it takes us.
Okay. What do you got here?
Well, and we also need to just make a quick plug. Also in conjunction with Roe v. Wade in Grants Pass, they're having their traditional march from the courthouse. Yep, and is that 6th? Is that 6th that goes?
I think it is, yeah. And it goes down over the river?
Over the river, and then down to Riverside Park, and they'll have speakers, and they'll have music and refreshments and things down there. Okay. So that's Sunday. Steve, forgive me, whatever Sunday is prior to the 22nd, okay, and that starts, the assembly begins at 1 o'clock at the courthouse.
Okay.
And then the march down 6th to the Riverside Park.
We'll mention that we get a little closer to it.
Yeah, and I need to have my dates together better. All right, so what we've got, Perry, is every year we also have, it's a contest that is sponsored by Oregon Right to Life, and it involves the kids. It involves, they're the future of the pro-life movement. They're the kids. So we have 3 different competitions that we have, and it's done on a county-to-county basis, and it begins with posters. And so I'm going to hold these up, and if David is
right in front of your face.
Okay, I'll hold it right here. Okay, here's an example. I hope everybody can see that.
Yeah.
The theme was value life.
Right.
This is by a 5th grader, happens to be my granddaughter. Okay, so here we have the seed, and then the plant going up. So this was the concept that a 5th grader had of valuing life.
Wow.
Won 3rd place at the state level, by the way.
Really? Wow.
And here we have another one.
All right.
This one, the theme was children are the heart of America.
Wow.
Okay, so here, this happens to be one of my other granddaughters. and so here we have a whole bunch of hearts with little
people in them.
Yeah. This was 1st place winner at the state for kindergarten.
Really?
Okay. Anyhow, parents, you don't have to get in depth at this level.
Yeah.
In what the pro-life movement is involved with. You give them the theme, you give them a piece of typewriter paper and some crayons and say, this is the theme, which this year is, we are the pro-life generation. Wow. That's the theme this year, we are the pro-life generation. And the posters are kindergarten through 5th grade, and they break it up into age groups so it's fair. And then we take them to our chapter meeting, and we set them all out, and nobody knows whose is whose, and we judge them. And the 1st place winner from each county, this happens in each county that there's a Right to Life chapter, those 1st place winners go to the state, and then the state judges them, and then they actually judge them and are recognized. And we're beginning to get them involved, engaged in the pro-life thing, even at the kindergarten, 1st grade level.
Excellent.
And these are creative. I mean, they really are. And it gets profound. I mean, as the ages advance, our chapter's been, whoa. Yeah. I mean, there's some really creative, profound stuff. Okay, so we've got the poster contest for kindergarten through 5th. Right. Now we've got essays, which are also themed. Children are we are the pro-life generation, right. And they go from 5th to 12th grade.
Wow.
Some of these essays are amazing too. Some of the original thinking.
I've read some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have kind of the king, which is the oratory contest. Do you remember when we had Anna Goldberg here?
She was remarkable.
And she won the state contest. She went, the winner of the oratory contest in the state of Oregon is given an all-expense-paid trip this year to New Orleans on July 11th to compete nationally against the other state winners. And there's money involved, for winning and whatnot. I mean, it's really an exciting thing. Yeah. So what we've got is my wife Val is handling the posters and the essays. And so she's going to murder me, but her cell phone number is...
No, Val, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
We got to get this going.
Okay.
The state convention is the 11th of April, and so we want to get these posters and essays in so that we have time to judge them probably at our March chapter meeting, which is the second Monday of March.
Okay.
So Val's phone number is 541-621-4773. Call her. You can also go to ortl.org, and the information is on Oregon Right to Life's website about these contests. But parents, you need to get your kids involved in this.
Yeah, this is wonderful.
This is at the beginning of that process.
I just love it.
Yeah, where they begin to become pro-life.
All right, K through 5th grade is posters.
It's posters.
5th grade through 12th grade is essays, and 11th and 12th grade is oratory.
All right, now, here's the bugaboo.
Oh.
We don't have a volunteer coordinator for the oratory contest.
Oh.
The ladies that have helped us in the past are unable to do it this year.
So what do you need?
I need a volunteer.
And what do they do?
Well, you know, really it's going to be, I mean, we're going to ask them to contact the local Christian high school, St. Mary's perhaps, also the homeschooler group. I mean, there's a cadre of students that are ready to go.
Right.
It's just a matter of kind of harnessing all that and getting it organized. Then we will find a venue where we can have the actual contest for Jackson County. We'll take care of that. We'll get that all organized. And then the kids come in. There's rules, boundaries, guidelines, and whatnot for the oratory contest. And they present their oratories just like Anna did on the Air Force here last year. And the winner, as we judge them here in Jackson County, will go to Portland on April 11th to compete with the other kids. So we need help.
There's got to be a mom, a retired English teacher, maybe a speech teacher, or somebody out there that you can do this for the next couple of months. Give Bryan a call, and let's get this little problem taken care of. So it's about a 3-month work. And
it is, and I mean, it's really,
it's easy. It's fun,
right. And the kids, we're not asking the volunteer coordinator to help them write their essays or anything. It's just getting the kids on task, establishing deadlines, the parameters of what the contest guidelines are and whatnot.
Contact you.
Contact me, that'd be fine. 821-4773. We just only have to deal with prefixes here. This is all we can handle.
Okay, 821-4773.
The kids.
There's got to be a volunteer out there for that.
And at this level, at the 11th and 12th grade level, these kids, the energy and the effort and the time that they spend formulating these speeches, that's information they will never forget as long as they live.
I've read some of these essays. It's mind-boggling. You cannot believe that you're reading somebody between 5th and 5th grade and 12th grade, and then to hear some of these speeches. Anna was just correct. All right, before we run out of time, the big event.
Okay, so traditionally in the past, our rally has been on the Sunday before the Roe v. Wade anniversary on January 22nd, and we have it at the Jackson County Justice Building.
Right, I'm going to look that up.
Okay, and it was a public event. The goal was to make a statement in a public fashion that we are pro-life, and this is what we stand for. And honestly, Perry, I think what the catalyst for this was the failure of the state to gather a sufficient number of signatures to get the petition that banned the use of taxpayer funding for abortion. I think that was the catalyst that really got us thinking, what do we got to do here? And somehow the Spirit kind of directed us to coordinate this with the Right to Life rally, the annual Right to Life rally in January. So this one is focused really on believers. We want to fill the sanctuary at First Baptist Church with believers. And I count myself as part of those who have been involved in abortion, who have been complicit in abortion. And I think there's a lot of people out there that still have hurts and pain and guilt and shame that have not found freedom through Jesus Christ for their complicity in abortion. I think there are a bunch of us around the state that are hurt and don't understand why we couldn't get a lousy 116,000 signatures to get this thing on the ballot last November. It would have been strategically, politically a fantastic thing to have on the general election ballot. It could have had the impact to elect some pro-life individuals beyond. I mean, there's all kinds of dynamics. Okay, the Lord is in control, And he was the one ultimately that, you know, takes responsibility for these things. And you know, we've been through this a million times. We're never going to give up. We know that, you know, that Proverbs tells us that we're to be a voice for those who can't speak for themselves. And Galatians tells us not to grow weary at doing good things. We know all that. But we're still human, and we still struggle with these things.
Right.
That's the focus of this event Thursday evening. That's the focus.
All right, so here's the deal, folks. It's not going to be out in the cold. It's going to be inside in a warm building. And it's not going to be in the afternoon. It's going to be in the evening on the 22nd of January. So that's a Thursday evening at the First Baptist Church. We'll be using their beautiful sanctuary. Listen, I think there is absolutely no excuse not to pack the place out.
I agree.
No excuse. So if you are a pro-lifer at any level, maybe you've been suffering as a result of being involved with some form of abortion or whatever, I want to encourage you, let's regroup at this rally, recharge, get redirected, and move forward like we have never moved before.
Perry, if you're wondering why your church didn't get involved in the petition drive, if you've been involved in abortion in the past, any point in the past, if you've said, man, I really need to get involved in this, but I just don't have time or whatever, I really think that the way we have this program lined out, it's just, I'm just so blessed at how this thing has come together. And I mean, it's clearly, the Lord has had a hand in this. Yeah. I think there's something there for everybody that's listening out there.
All right, mark it down. January 22nd, 7 o'clock, First Baptist Church. That's in the evening. That's a Thursday evening. Let's pack it out. And we'll be mentioning it more as we get closer to the date. But Bryan, thank you. And if you want to be involved in posters, essays, and oratory, get a hold of Bryan. Especially with the posters, get a hold of Val. Her number is 621-4773. If you can't remember that, you can always call this guy 821-4773. 821-4773. And let's help with the posters, get the essay contest going. And he needs a volunteer to kind of help with the essays and the oratory. Thank you, buddy.
You betcha.
You could fill up an hour real easy, I'll tell you. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and delighted to have in the studio, and love what this lady represents, and love her. Treva Kuyper's with us. She's one of the co-founders of the Loft Ministries, ministers to girls from 8th grade through 12th grade. And you're kind of like a third of the way through?
We're about half right now. We go through till June.
And it's a program you can pick up anywhere along the line, but it's designed to help girls from 8th grade through 12th grade to navigate through all of the stuff of life, right?
Yes, all of the stuff. Yeah, the teenage years are hard for boys and girls.
Yeah, it's tough out there.
It is tough.
What did you do last week?
We did family dynamics in December. And that was really great to just kind of share with the girls all the different kinds of family relationships, how to navigate through conflict, how to navigate through blended families, and family in general. It was a really great topic.
All right, this is a big one for girls, body image and self-worth. I can't think of anything for young girls that's probably more paramount in their thinking than that right now.
Oh, it affects every single one of them, and women too. But yeah, our girls really struggle with body image and self-worth, and if we can't help them get a handle on it, it can turn into destructive behaviors. It can turn into eating disorders and self-harm and self-loathing, self-hate. And so we're trying to bring light to who they are and the truth of who they are, who Christ says they are, and how God created them to be, and just pour encouragement and truth into them.
Why, Treva, is body image so much on the mind of a young girl, all women, but for young girl, why is that an issue?
Well, you know, even now, 9-year-olds are on diets. Isn't that crazy? 9 years old, as young as 9 years old, they'll go on a diet. I think that there's several things. One is we're just insecure anyways in our sinful nature. We focus so much on ourselves and where we're lacking, and you know, there's all these insecurities, and especially for teenagers that are growing, their bodies are constantly changing. They're trying to figure out who they are. Are they worth anything? They're hearing so many different voices, and it's hard for them to navigate through that and figure out which voice to believe.
Wow.
And then our culture. Our culture wants to be the loudest voice.
Yeah, right.
And so it's quite a battle to come alongside our teens and be louder than the world's voice.
So where do you start this conversation with them?
Well, I love to be a broken record. I love to tell the girls over and over again how much the Lord loves them, that they're created in His image, that He created them with a purpose. And a lot of times I'll show them or tell them the lies that the culture is telling them. For instance, you know, being skinny is the beautiful way to go. Well, whoever decided that, you know? And so just different things, kind of unpacking what the culture tells them, and then asking them, how's that working for you? Believing those things, how's that doing for you? Because God has us in mind, and the love that He has for us is what He wants us to focus on, and not the lies of the enemy.
So what's the image that the culture is trying to put on these girls? What are they, I mean, other than being sex objects, what else?
Oh my word. Well, last year when we did this topic, we talked a lot about Barbie. And just even...
She's still out there, huh?
She is still out there, and I guess now they're trying to create a Barbie that's realistic. I don't know if you've seen that, but they've had Barbie around for years and years and years, and completely unrealistic. And in fact, Barbie, if she was a real person, she couldn't even walk because the proportions are so off. And now Mattel is realizing, oh, maybe we should create a realistic doll. But I think that our culture, from when our girls are little, and they're playing with toys, it's a way that they get in there to say, you know, skinny is beautiful. If you don't like the way you are, you can have plastic surgery. You can fix anything about you. You can go on a diet. You can do this. But really, you know, it's a money-making industry. And so as parents, we need to, and moms, we need to be pouring truth into them rather than that.
Do you think the average parent today, I've seen both sides of the coin, do you think the average parent today understands the pressure that young girls have going into the schools and the culture to be something other than they're not? That's number one. And then the other one is a parent who is getting through their child to kind of stay dressed and act their age would be a standout to those who are being forced to grow up faster.
Yes. I think that the majority of parents want their kids to act their age, but don't necessarily know how to go about doing that. And I'm a parent of an almost 16-year-old girl.
Really?
And yes, and when she was 11, she wanted to be 13. And when she was 13, she wanted to be 17. And, you know, she's always looked at people older than her and wanted to be that. And I would say to her, let's celebrate being 11. Everything that has to do with being 11, let's celebrate that. And then when we're 13, we're going to celebrate everything that has to do with being 13. And we've worked really hard to try to teach her how to enjoy the age that she is. And I think that our culture has lost that. I don't actually think our culture knows what a 15-year-old girl should be like. And so we have to go back to scripture, and they do sexualize the girls from a way, way young age. And I think as parents, we need to be the example. How do I, as a mom, talk about myself? How do I talk about my body image and my worth? What am I saying to my daughter when I want to lose weight after Christmas? How am I handling that? You know, and one of the things that I try to do is have a conversation with my daughter that it's not just about me losing weight after Christmas. It's I was a glutton and I need to start being healthy. And I think the way that we use our words with our teen girls, they listen. They might not seem like they're listening, but they are.
They are listening.
They are listening.
Do the girls get the understanding that it's okay to be who you are because that's the way God created you when the whole world is trying to tell you to change?
It is hard. We have to be a broken record. They need to be hearing that truth from everyone. So when they go to church, they need to hear it in Sunday school. When they're at school even, they need to have some friends that are willing to stand with them on that. I need to be telling them that. The Loft needs to be telling that, because the first few times they hear it, or the first maybe 50 times they hear it, it's not going to sink in. It's just not going to sink in. Their body is changing so much and their hormones are all over the place that they might have a day where they do agree with that and say, I am created in God's image. I am worth something. Christ died for me. And yay, but then the next day they have a bad hair day and the whole world has fallen apart, right? Yeah, so, right. So I think just that constant truth telling to them, and that they're getting it from all different sides.
Is there a trend back towards modesty?
I like to think so.
I'm just looking at some of the fashion magazines and I go, wow, look at this. This is a nice looking dress. You know what? Am I looking at old ones or what?
I almost think it's either side of the spectrum. I have seen a trend towards modesty in some fashion trends, but then I've also seen shorts getting shorter and skirts getting short. It's almost like there's the shortest of the short and the longest of the long, but there's not really a middle ground. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like there's either end of the spectrum is what I see. And we try to kind of push them towards the modest end. Girls that are
being forced through the culture or just peer pressure to dress inappropriately, are they comfortable with that? Or are they just trying to be cool?
I think that they are trying to be cool, and I think that the media, the television shows, they're trying to be the celebrities that they see.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to do. Some girls are actually just trying to find their place. So when they go to school and they might feel out of place, they're trying to find a friend group that they fit into or they think they can. And so, you know, in high school, everything is segregated. It just naturally happens that way. You have all the athletes that usually hang out together and the band people hang out together and so on. And so they tend to start dressing like who they hang out with. We become really who we hang out with, even more so.
Yeah, I always say you become a product of your environment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, now the self-esteem issue, or self-worth as you're putting it, where is it for an 8th to 12th grader? Where is it?
Well, they are trying so desperately to find their place in the world. And so when I look at a girl and tell her she is beautiful and she is worth something and God created her with a purpose and I can't wait to see what He's going to do in their life, they want desperately to believe me, and they might for 5 minutes. And then when they leave my presence or they leave the Loft, the next day if someone says something negative to them, everything I've said goes out the window. They believe the one negative.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
And bullying is an issue.
Yes. Oh my word. They remember all of that. That becomes who they are. That becomes their worth because they're taking on what other people are saying. My daughter said to me last night, I was asking her some questions about this, and she said, you know, I feel fine with my body image, with the outside of me. She said, what hurts is the inside. People at school will say something negative to her, and then she holds on to that and chews on that for a while, analyzes that, and then that messes up how she feels about her worth. And I think that that happens for girls across the board, 8th grade through 12th grade, and even in elementary school.
So, again, the broken record, I think this is where the Loft comes in. You have these girls through the school year, and if you can constantly affirm them in Christ, no matter what the issues are, hopefully over that 9-10 month period, they glean from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I read in an article that a teenager needs to hear the gospel 17 times before they might accept it. 17 times.
Wow.
So I said, well, they're going to hear the gospel 10 times at the Loft each year. So that's where change happens. That's where transformation happens, is sharing the gospel. When they accept Christ, He changes their heart. He changes their self-worth. He changes their body image. He's the one that can alter that. We can just pour truth into them over and over and over again.
Wow. Well, thank you for what you do. What's coming up next? What are you looking down for? By the way, this will be this coming Sunday.
It's this Sunday at 5:30. We feed them dinner.
Okay.
We have a wonderful speaker. She was first runner-up for Miss Oregon. She's going to come and talk about her relationship with Christ and body image.
Okay.
They do not have to RSVP, and they can bring as many friends as they want.
5:30, and that is the Community Bible Church in Central Point. Just show up. Community Bible Church in Central Point, 5:30 this Sunday. Quickly, your next session will be?
Sex and relationships in February.
Okay, we'll talk to you about that one.
Yes.
But for body image and self-worth, by the way, you can just plug in right now into the program. So moms, dads, friends, ladies, girls, whatever, 8th grade to 12th grade, Community Bible Church this Sunday evening, 5:30. Go there, get dinner, and be encouraged. Thank you.
Thank you.
Treva. You're wonderful. All right, we'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at the Dove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.